Hi there. I'm going to stand here. This is Natsumi Hayashi. She levitates. That's her superpower. Her other superpower is having pictures of her levitating all over the internet. I'm going to talk about how constraints encourage creativity. And the first TED conference happened in 1984 in a room that wasn't substantially bigger than this room. And it contained an audience that actually primarily consisted of students as well. So it's really similar. This is a shot from the first TED. And I often talk about how TED used to be filmed over the years. This is Nicholas Negroponte on stage. It looks kind of like the snuff film version of a TED Talk with the camera at the back of the room. By 2004, 20 years later, TED had graduated to 2 cameras. So a lot had changed. And by 2005, you can see there is this overview of male pattern baldness in the room that we added. And finally, in 2006, TED became the TED that you all know, and in part that brought us all together. And it's all about making a personal connection. And one thing about the jump from 2006 till now, or the jump from 1984 till now, is so much has happened. Like, at first, TED Talks was launched on an iPod, and now there's the iPad. Here's someone watching TED on a laptop. What's interesting about this is that here are these people watching a TED conference on a laptop, and there they are from another angle. And if you notice, there are a couple unusual things, like the fact that they're floating. So I always say that the way TED is shot is to give everyone in the audience, whether they're in the room, on site, or watching through a computer, the sensation that they've got the best seat in the house. One thing I never anticipated was the idea that the best seat in the house might be hovering 200 miles above the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour, circling the globe multiple times during the day. So one day, we were ramping up for TED in 2011, and someone told me that as a surprise, we were going to have a speaker record a talk from the International Space Station. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. And so a few emails were exchanged. And next thing I know, a clip comes in from an actual astronaut, and it's OK. You know, it looked pretty good. And I sent some notes saying, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to call me. I actually got a phone call. The phone, within hours, my phone rings, and there's a staticky voice on the other end, and it's someone saying, hi, I'm calling from the space station. I'd like to talk with you about how maybe I can film some additional footage for this talk that I'm giving. So next thing I know, we're talking about flying. This is actually a picture I took recently at the Rubin Museum. This is how not to depict someone flying. There's no drama. There's no dynamism to it. And I wrote an email back after some phone conversations and a few emails that began, whenever I direct anything down on Earth, I like to send some directing notes and just some reference points. So I dug around on my hard drive, and I dug around on the internet, and I happen to have a lot of pictures of people floating and flying. So I sent over some of these. You know, it's all the old standards that you would think of when you want to depict someone, you know, caught in midair in a dramatic pose. And then, of course, the cinematic references. And, you know, Inception, and how do you create this idea of suspension in space, where this is one of those things that never really dawned on me. When you watch a movie, people turn gravity on and off. It doesn't actually work like that. And I sent clips from science fiction movies that I thought were filmed in a very sort of formal style. And I suggested that if any more footage comes back, it should draw from that visual language of showing people flying with like tremendous impact and showing formal shot compositions. And this is what we got back. It was amazing. They actually did a 2-camera shoot in the space station. Apparently, it's international. The Japanese have the good cameras. The Italians are the good cinematographers. And it's like chocolate and peanut butter or a Benetton ad. And Katie Coleman sent me this footage. It's online. We played it at TED. It was a hit. And when I told people I was doing this, they were like, clearly you were born to direct this kind of scene. And right after it went up, I got this really nice note from the space station saying, hey, I want to share some personal photos that I took. And I'm going to show that to you now. This is a rocket taking off. It's a rocket that was going to dock with the space station. And it's incredibly dramatic. It's incredibly exciting to think that things like this happen. The flip side of all of this is on our long conversations about how are you going to shoot someone flying and floating in space, we got into the day-to-day things. And you always think that someone else has that dream job or that best job in the world, but apparently the laser printer was broken that day on the space station. And we all have these setbacks in our lives, but it was just so wonderful and magical to have that exchange. Anyway, those are some notes. Should you ever need to advise anyone on how to fly, please take from that. Thank you very much.